Hi, honeys. Welcome to Books and Hauls with Michele, and I've got Marty down here on the floor with me. We are so excited. I am going to talk to you about a video that was requested by my friend Shelley. Shelley wanted to see a video where I talk about the books that I loved as a child, which I'm all about. I'm going to talk about all the books, well, not all the books, but the main books, the ones that stand out to me still as books that I loved as a child from age 12 and below. So basically the entire 80s, because I was born in the late 70s. I don't remember the 70s at all. I remember from the early 80s on. So everything I'll be talking about took place, or all the times that I loved all these books took place in the 80s. So I'll start back as far as I can remember and then move forward. There's probably books that I loved that I'm going to leave out because I don't really remember some of the books that I liked when I was really young. Marty. He is so excited about this video. I'm telling you what, you guys. He just thinks it's great. So sit back and relax and let yourself slip into the 80s. Hi, I'm going to be talking to you on the phone today since this is how we chatted with everybody that we weren't actually in the room with. Wouldn't that be fun though? Oh, you didn't have to worry about your eyes getting tired from looking at the screen. You didn't have to worry about typing out weird words with your fingers. All you had to worry about was leaving a message on somebody's answering machine that you didn't mean to leave. And that's really it. Anyway, I just love having this phone though. It would be kind of tempting to do a whole video this way, but it seems a little silly, right? Remember that sound when you dial people? Okay. The first book I want to mention is Put Me in the Zoo by Robert Lopshire. Do you remember this book? This book is about this, I don't know what he is, what kind of animal he is. I'm not quite sure. But he wants to go to the zoo. And he's able to change his colors and pick them up and juggle them, his spots. And so he can make himself all kinds of different colors, and he can put spots all over a bunch of different things. And he meets this little boy and a little girl, and they're talking to him about all the things he can do. And they finally say to him, you know, it would make more sense if you went to the circus. That's why the zoo doesn't want you. You don't fit in at the zoo. I bet they would appreciate you at the circus. So he ends up going to the circus where they gladly accept him. And I'm assuming the reason I liked this book so much as a child is that I think we were all trying to figure out how to fit in, where we fit in, what we had to do. And I kind of look at these spots as a metaphor of we all kind of wear a mask, right? Like I know right now we all do. Marty just jumped up where you are. But we have different metaphorical masks that we wear around different people or in different places, and we're not really being ourselves, right? Like I have a mask I put on at work when I answer the phone, and when I'm talking to people, I don't really always say what I think, and well, sometimes I do, but for the most part I don't. Or if I when I was around my grandparents, I didn't swear. When I'm talking to you, because we're on YouTube and I don't know if there's children in the room, I don't swear. But you know what? When it's just me and my friends, or I'm with my husband, I swear like a sailor. I do. So I think we all have different masks we put on in different situations. And I think that's what this book kind of symbolizes to me now. I don't know what it meant back then to me, but I loved this book. And it might just be the artist in me that's always been there, that loved all the different colors that he could make his spots. And I was thinking about what was my favorite fairy tale as a child. And it's funny because I think my favorite one, I just remember being really excited about hearing about, is Jack and the Beanstalk. And I just found this one at a Dollar Tree, and it's a really quick version of the story. I don't remember it being this short of a story. I remember there being more things that happened. But I think with this book, it was just the imagination that I had to use, picturing the beanstalk and Jack going up and bringing these things back down. I didn't think of him as being a thief at the time. Now, when I read the story, I do. But I have the actual original fairy tale story. I might actually sit down and read that and see what the story really is, because I don't remember it being the way it is in this book. But Jack and the Beanstalk was my favorite fairy tale. Another book. Now, some of these I had to just go out and get now because I wanted to reread them. And one of them was The Tortoise and the Hare. And this is by Teresa Mauer. This story, I think, gosh, I should have kept I loved this book as a kid. And I remember my mom had bought me a tape. It was like a book on tape and then also the book. So I could listen to it while I read it and learn how to read. And I remember this being a story that I just loved. I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I wish I had kept that book and read it throughout my life, because I feel like it's been a theme throughout my whole life, is slow and steady wins the race. I tell you what, I've never been the one that just wins right away, or is everybody's favorite person right away, or is the most popular girl in school, or, like I was just never that like it person. I feel like I've been a late bloomer in a lot of ways, and I feel like I've had to learn everything the hard way. So I kind of feel like I can really relate to this little guy here. And I actually plan on keeping this near my desk and reading it kind of regularly as a reminder that I'm just not that quick, super talented, win it every time kind of person. And that's okay. That's okay. I just have to take it slow and steady. I remember loving, now here's a weird one, the Berenstain Bears, right? Is that how you said it as a kid? That's how I always said it. And this was one of my favorite books in the dark. I absolutely loved this book. And it was written by Stan and Jan Berenstain. Now, I was watching a movie about the Mandela effect, and it says it's not Berenstain Bears, it's Berenstain. And I'm thinking, what? No, it's not. Oh, yeah, it is. Look, it actually is. This is the book that I had as a child, and it absolutely is spelled Berenstain. I don't know what the heck. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that, but it's kind of funny, but I did. I really loved these bears. And I'll put a list at the end of this video of all the different books and the authors. The next one is Popcorn by Frank Asch. Do you remember this book? I loved this book. Now, I have to admit, I was kind of a loner as a child. My brothers were older than me, and they were both hockey players, and we were either at the hockey rink, so I was a rink rat, as they called it, or we were on the road to hockey camps or going to games up in Canada. I was not home a lot, and I didn't really have very many friends, and so I had to find ways to entertain myself at home. And of course I did that with books and records, and I got very creative about how to keep myself entertained. And I think what I liked about this book so much was not only was it a book about popcorn, which, I mean, come on, right? Look at that. But he had this group of friends that came over, which I didn't really have when I was that young. As I got older, I did, but he had all these friends that came over, and not only did they make this big mess, but they helped him clean it up. Like, they cared. They stuck around. They made sure everything was okay when his parents got back home. And I love this book. I still do. I lit up when I was reading it. And for me, this was the image too. The one with all the popcorn and this one are the images that just stood out so much to me. Such a good book. And then we have Corduroy. Who doesn't love Corduroy? Such a good book. And this is by Don Freeman. And looking at Corduroy, this makes me think of me as a little girl going home from daycare, wanting my mom to read to me, and wanting to hear about Corduroy. Anyway, I used to have a story time page on YouTube where I read to children in an effort to teach them how to read until some of the laws changed about making content for children. And it's still up. I leave it up for my nieces and nephews to watch, but I haven't made anything on that page in a year and a half at least. But when I was doing the videos, my sister-in-law gave me this book, and this was not out when I was a child, but I wanted to tell you about this book because I really love it. I think it's such a good book. I'm still a child at heart. I still like reading children's books every now and again, and this one is part of my repertoire of children's books that I like to keep on hand. So I'm excited that she gave me this book, even though I never did make the video of it. It's just such a sweet book. Blueberries for Sal by Robert McCloskey. This book was such a good book. Do you remember this book? And The King Who Reigned by Fred Gwynne. Oh, I thought this book was so funny as a child. It's a book full of puns. And I just thought it was the best. And I still think it's funny. I used to love listening to my record Alice in Wonderland. And I actually picked this up about a year ago. But it's such a great story, isn't it? And this one, it's got pictures that kind of look like they're remastered from the original cartoon. Another book that I loved was The Cabbage Patch Kids, The Great Rescue. And this one, oh, it's so great. It had a map of the Cabbage Patch. What was it called? Don't remember. But anyway, so cute, right? And then another book that stands out as one of my absolute favorites is a Care Bear book that I don't own. I wish I did. I wish I'd never got rid of it. I had the whole set and I got rid of them. And I have it in my mind that I'm going to find each of those books, but they're hard to find right now. And they're not cheap either if you do find them. But this one was my favorite one. Then I had this set of books here. This particular one was my favorite, written by Stephen Cosgrove. And I don't know if you ever got a hold of these books, but oh my gosh, they were so good. And this particular one is called Wheedle on the Needle. And it was about this Wheedle who lived on the Space Needle. And so as a little girl, I used to drive by, you know, I'd be in the back of my parents' car looking up, is he up there? And I would get so excited. So I wanted to take a moment and thank my mother. Thank you, Mom. I have always been a book lover at heart. I love stories. I love the imagination that it takes to picture the scene that I'm reading about and to imagine the characters and what's going on and picture the house they're in and that kind of stuff. And she really nurtured that part of me. She read to me for as far back as I can remember, and it was just really wonderful that she took the time to do that for me. And as I got older, I may have not got every single toy I wanted, or maybe I didn't always get an ice cream at the store or whatever, but I always got every book I wanted. And I just thought it was so great that she took so much time and care into really helping that bookworm in me emerge. So I just wanted to say thank you, Mom, because I really, really appreciate it. I don't know if I had had a different mother, would I be a bookworm, or would I have just never really become one? It's kind of weird to think about, isn't it? Okay, so then I've got The Cricket in Times Square by George Seldon. This is such a good book. And I remember this was a book that one of my teachers read out loud to the classroom. And I liked it so much that we ended up getting a copy of it. And I read it myself a few times. But what a good book, though. And then I lost the cover to this, but Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. My mom actually had bought me a record that goes with it. And I'm assuming it's so that, once again, you can read the book and listen to the record and kind of learn how to read with it. And I was looking through my records and I can't find it. I've got a bunch of records in storage and I'm pretty sure that's where it is. But I was so disappointed that I couldn't find it because I thought that it was such a fun thing to be able to show you. But this is obviously the original book that I had as a child. And then a book I remember my mom reading to me out loud. She read the first Ramona book, which this is not the first one. The first one, oh yeah, Ramona, or Beezus and Ramona was the first one. And this whole series is really good. And I kind of felt like Ramona growing up. I went through from like this age of 7 to, I don't know, 13. I went through like a real ugly duckling stage, and I had my hair cut the way Ramona had hers cut, just like a bob to here with like the bangs straight across. And my teeth looked really bad, and I don't know how I ended up with these teeth because I never had braces, but I guess it was just my original set of teeth were like, you know, and I was that kid that irritated everybody. My siblings didn't really want me around. It was like, you know, go in your room, because they were so much older than me. I was like the irritating little sister. And so I kind of feel like I was Ramona. I was like that irritating young bratty kid that, you know, just trying to find a place to fit in the world. And for me, that was Ramona. But yeah, so my mom read me the first one, and then the other books I read to myself. And if you haven't read these, I really recommend them. I think they're really cute. And there's a movie. Which one is it? I can't remember. Is it Ramona Forever? But that movie is really good too. There's 2 series I want to mention that I don't have any books from. You could probably guess what they are. The first series I want to talk about is the Babysitter's Club. I read all those and loved them, and I thought they were so good. And then the next one is the Sweet Valley Twins. You guys know I loved Sweet Valley High. Sweet Valley Twins, though, was where it all started for me. And now which one? Okay, I remember Sweet Valley Twins. They were in the Unicorn Club. And then the Babysitter's Club was a group of girls that were all babysitters. And I remember in the Babysitter's Club, they had a little bit more in the way of like real world problems, like parents getting divorced and just all kinds of life struggles that families go through, that kids go through with them. I don't remember it being quite that way with Sweet Valley Twins. It felt a little bit more, you know, made for TV, or maybe not made for TV, but it just felt a little bit less realistic sometimes. You know, everybody was just so beautiful in those books, and they lived in the valley and that kind of thing. But what I'm trying to remember is, which one had the group of girls that all wore purple one day a week to school? Do you remember that? You get a star if you do. Speaking of stars, do you remember The More You Know from After School? That was fun. And then the last book that I really wanted to mention to you, I had been looking for this one for quite a while, is A Ring of Endless Light by Madeleine L'Engle. Oh my gosh. Now I'll put a picture up here of what the book cover looked like when I had the book, because I liked that cover a lot more than this one. I don't really care for this cover. It's like this tiny little picture in the middle. Like, why not make the whole thing the cover, right? But whatever. Nobody asked my opinion. This book is so good, and it's the fourth book in the Austen Family Chronicles. And this book changed my life, and I was wondering why, because it's been so many years since I read it, and I get it now. I do, I get it. It changed my life in that it made me yearn to become an adult so that I could go out in the world and create the life that I wanted. And it took me a really long time to get to the life I wanted, but the main character in this book, her name is Vicky, and she's got kind of a love triangle going on, although to me it's a love square, because there's 3 boys that she's either interested in or that are interested in her. And so that's 4 people, not 3. So I think of it as a love square. But in this book, she's staying at her grandfather's home, which is in an old horse stable on the beach that's been converted into a home, which just sounds amazing. That really got my creativity just bubbling like crazy as a kid, just trying to imagine, like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be the coolest house ever to live in? And what would you do with the different stables? And how would you make it, just, I had so much fun with that. But she loves reading. She loves poetry, which I actually started writing poetry after reading this book. It just really brought out that part of me. And she also really loves animals and dolphins. There's a bunch of dolphin stuff in here. And there's a bunch of discussions that are very philosophical and kind of scientific and like a little bit deeper and heavier than what so many people have in books. I can see why I loved this book so much. It was very mentally stimulating, and I think if you like YA books, especially if you like sci-fi books, you will love this book. You might want to just read the whole series. It's really good. It's really good. And I plan on getting the next book so I can read the next one in the series, which is the last book. There's actually 5 books in this series, but I don't know if I'll actually read them all from the first book on now that I already know what happens. But it's so good. I really recommend it. And this is the same author that wrote A Wrinkle in Time, just to kind of give you an idea of what that one is. So that's it. Those are the books that were my favorite as a child. If you want to know my favorite books as a teen, let me know. I'll start compiling all that information for you, and I'll make a video on that next month. But what I'm dying to know is, what were your favorite books as a child? Please let me know down in the comments. I can't wait to hear. I love talking about books. I don't know if there's much I like talking about as much as I like talking about books, especially with other book lovers. Have some fun conversations with you guys about that. If you want to hear a little bit more about what I thought of this book, tune in tomorrow. I will be doing a book vlog, and during the whole week, I'm reading this book because I had a bit of a reading slump this last week. And then be sure to tune in next Sunday. I'm going to be taking you book shopping with me, which is really fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night and a wonderful rest of your week. I love you. Bye.